Hello, welcome back, my friends. This is Mulenge Speaks series. Today we are starting part 16. I'm John Kapapi, your host, and I hope you had all the time to go through the previous 15 clips. So today we are tackling part 16, and we'll continue where we left over last time. I believe last time we had two clips in one session, clip 15A and clip 15B, and we talked about the relationship between kings and their subject in African kingdoms, and we said that in the pre-colonial Congo or pre-colonial time before 1885, kings, people or subject populations in the kingdom were identified by the name of their kings or by the name of the country or the state or kingdom. And so during that time, even though it was before the arrival of the colonial authorities, kingdoms were already organized. Many of them, if not totality of them, were organized in were political institutions with a constitution, with a military, a legislative and the judicial branches, and its population were very well documented. They were known because during before 1885, if we know very well the history of Africa, we know that explorers were already in Africa, especially in our the Congo Basin, meaning the country around the Great Lakes, Congo, Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, and Tanzania. If we know the history of Livingstone, Stanley, and Boughton, Speaks, all those explorers came in those areas. They were documenting, so they knew who was who, and they knew the name of the kings and the name of the kingdom. And so we say that every subject, every person who left a kingdom and entered into a different kingdom were identified by the name of the king or the kingdom where he or she come from. For example, if we consider this to be true, we know that several educators or researchers collected data about the population that were in eastern part of the current or present Democratic Republic of Congo, or the region that were in the east of the kingdom of Rwanda. So, for example, the kingdom of the east of the present DRC, which also we can situate them on the west of the Lake Kivu and the Ruzizi River, that were part of the treaties that Mr. Henri Morton Stanley signed with local leader on behalf of the King of Belgium, Leopold II, were well documented by several authors and researchers. There is no secret about this, and the population were known, and the name of the tribe were known, and they still be known today. They are known even to this day. So consider this list, for example. In the east, or in the present eastern Congo, we had what was called the Federal Kingdom of Banyira, which included the Butembo, the Bunia, and Lubero. We had the Kingdom of Buhunde, which included Bwito, Banyungu, and Kishali. We had the Kingdom of Banyanaga in Walikale today. We had the Kingdom of Buhavu, which included the Kalehe and the Iju today. We had the Kingdom of Bushi, which included Walungu Ongweshe, also which was composed of the territory of Kabare, Walungu, and half of the Kamituga region in the present territory of Mulenge. We also had the kingdom of Urega, which means Mulenge, Shabunda, and Pangi. We also had the kingdom of the Babembe, present Fizi and Itombwe, today part of the territory of Mulenge. We had the kingdom of Bafulero and the kingdom of the Bavira along the Lake Tanganyika. So those are kingdoms that were recorded, documented by the first Western explorer who came before the idea of colonization. If it happened that a person left her kingdom and traveled or sojourned in a neighboring kingdom, as I just mentioned, the capital, that means the chef of the village, chef de village, or the chief of the village where that person enter or settle, that capital had the obligation to inform the king and register that person under the name of the king from which she or he come from. If the person is a fugitive because he committed a crime, for example, usually the king who owned that individual, where that individual come from, will send an ambassador to the second king, to the next kingdom where the fugitive is found, and inform him about the crime that that person committed or the issue that is with that person, so that the next king now will have a decision to make regarding that person. If I'm a criminal, I live in this kingdom here, and then I run into the kingdom of Canada, the capital of the region where I enter, the county or the village where I enter, will receive me, but that capital will have to inform the king that we received a person who moved to this our territory, but is coming from such and such kingdom, and the king who lives there is such and such name. So people were known. We did not have the register, the register that we have today. We did not have the census that we know today. But every time a person was leaving a kingdom for another one, that person was identified based on the king, the name of the king, and the kingdom where the person is coming from. So today, for example, we have talked about extradition treaties between nations, but at that time, the treaties were not the way we have them today. So despite all this history, the Banyarwanda are not ready to acknowledge this reality that the kings in the kingdom of Bavira, for example, in Bavira, the kingdom of Bavira and Bafulero, for example, for instance, received them, gave them land and place to live. Many of their members received position as capital villages, as I mentioned in the groupement of Kigoma and Lemera, for example. We said in the groupement of Kigoma and Lemera, we have two Banyarwanda that are still to this day chief of villages. So they received some position, but not because they were customary people, but because they settled in the kingdom, they respected the tradition, they even speak the language of the kingdom, and they recognize the king who is reigning over those lands, in those kingdoms. And so the king, the owner of the kingdom, give them position to live because they become one of them. They become part of the territory of the kingdom. So today we are introducing another notion that the Banyarwanda continue to advocate and lobby around the world. It is this: they claim that they are entitled to the Congolese of origin status because they were also a Belgian colony before their respective independence, both in Rwanda and Burundi in 1962. In other words, they are saying that because we are Banyarwanda, or because we came from Rwanda, we came from Burundi, but when we entered into the what is known today as Democratic Republic of Congo, We are entitled to the Congolese of origin status because our country, our former country or our former kingdom were part of the Belgium control or colony. But is it so? And many Western politicians and academics, especially the new generation of academics today, who just read and copy a citation without analyzing or balancing the fact, they just fall for this big lie. It is a big lie because the Rwanda and or the Burundi that we know today have never been a Belgian colony. I repeat it again. What the Banyarwanda living in eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, namely in South Kivu province, what they are advocating out there, that they have or they are entitled to this Congolese of origin status because they were part of the Belgium colony, is a lie. Why? Because Burundi, or the Kingdom of Burundi then, and the Kingdom of Rwanda then, which became the Republic of Rwanda and the Republic of Burundi later, they have never been part of the Belgian colony. They have never been Colonie Belge. And we'll see how and when. Because if we follow very well how the Banyarwanda are advocating this claim, how they are going from senator office to governor office to the president office to the church pulpit to advocate this right, this Congolese of origin status right, that pastors, teachers, politicians, academics, they're asking the world to endorse or to accept them as people from Mulenge, when we know that history does not just change from day to day. History does not change as a straight line. We have to do our best to teach and to remind those scholars, those politicians, that yes, the Banyarwanda have the right to claim a right. They have the right to expose or tell the story, their story. At the same time, we also have the responsibility to analyze our story. We have the responsibility to balance the fact, search the history, and then find out what is the truth. And that's what we are doing here. And the truth is that Rwanda, the Kingdom of Rwanda, the Kingdom of Burundi have never been a Belgian colony. Now, starting with Pastor Scott Sittig that are presented in the previous clip. Pastor Scott Sittig of the New Hope Free Methodist Church, who hosted Dr. Kaniti, who hosted, give me 1 second here, who hosted Dr. Kaniki to expose lie and deception about the arrival of the Banyarwanda in the DRC. This pastor encouraged the listener and the viewers to contact local legislators or donate toward a cause that is founded on lies and the deception. It is founded on lies and deception. Why? Because when Dr. Kaniki said that they arrived in 1804, but others say that they arrived in the 16th centuries, and others say that they arrived in 20th centuries. Before a person can donate or contact a legislator over something that is flawed, somebody have to sit down and analyze those three facts. How can the same people have three different stories. At one point, we have to sit down and analyze them and then see if there is a truth in it or in their claim. So when Pastor Scott stand before the camera of his church and tell American, and send a message to the world that people should contact their legislator to help them advance the cause of the Banyarwanda that are called by the name Mulenge, because they are from there. We have to sit down and consider one thing. If they are Banyarwanda, that means they are from Rwanda. And if they are from Rwanda, when did the kingdom of Rwanda start? When did the kingdom of Rwanda end? And when they cross into the kingdom of Bafulero, Bavira, Bashi, Barega, Babembe, did they change? Did they stop becoming the Banyarwanda? Now they became the people, the new people. And where did they get the name Mulenge? We have to ask those questions, and we have to sit down and try to resolve the issue, the first issue, which is where lies the truth. So today, if their premises are wrong, the conclusion may also be wrong. And if they start lying from the beginning, can they now change when they find themselves in a situation where it is very difficult to change the narrative? They can no longer change the narrative. They're going to continue the lie to the end, because the lie benefits them, so they continue to deceive people. That's why, as we introduce the subject of the Rwanda, Burundi versus Belgium, Congo, we have to consider how they are now deceiving academics. And they go to the academics in the school settings, in the university settings, and then tell their story. And so one of the person who fall into that category of lies is Priya Iona Saibel. Saibel presented his master's in social economy humanities at the University of St. Paul in Ottawa, Canada. And the title of his research is "This Land is Not Yours, a comparative study of the struggle for lands claimed in the Kivu Eastern DRC." I repeat again, one of the person who falls into this category of lie, and there are so many, but today we'll just take one example, is Priya Ilona Saibel, who presented his master's in social humanities at the University of St. Paul in Ottawa, Canada. The title of his thesis was, and is to this day, "This Land is Not Yours, a comparative study of the struggle for lands claimed in the Kivu Eastern DRC." And this thesis was published in November 2012. And so, how does he fall in this big lie? On page 3, he writes, I quote, "The Banyarwanda were granted land in the Congo Free State from the Belgians, who did not see them as foreign natives, since Rwanda was also a Belgian colony." I'm going to repeat this again. On page 3 of his thesis that was published in 2012, he writes, I quote, "The Banyarwanda were granted land in the Congo Free State from the Belgians, who did not see them as foreign natives, since Rwanda was also a Belgian colony. End of quote. So my friends, if we stop here from this quotation by itself, and that's where I'm gonna end for tonight. I'm gonna leave you with this one, and next time I'm gonna develop this quote. But I want to leave you with 3 questions or 3 sentences that I want you to meditate on as you go through this video tonight. I want you to meditate on granted land in the Congo Free State. So the Belgium in the Free State, in the Congo Free State, which existed between 1885 to 1908, the author here of this book here writes that the Belgium granted land in the Congo Free State to the Banyarwanda. Second, he said that these foreigners, these Western, these Belgians, they did not consider the Banyarwanda foreign native. Why? Because Rwanda, where they come from, was also a Belgian colony. So for tonight, I'm gonna leave here, and I want you to meditate. If you have time, go through this book or this thesis. The title again is "This Land is Not Yours: A Comparative Study of the Struggle for Land Claims in the Kivu Eastern DRC." So next time in the clip 17, I'm gonna extend on this paragraph alone to show you that when the Banyarwanda come to you and tell you that we are Congolese of origin because our country, our kingdom was part of the Belgian colony, pause and ask a question. And so thank you again for listening. Try to go through the description. After you read the description, like and share, and we hope to see you next time when we are developing this paragraph. Thank you and good night.